Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Maisy Mok. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Happy Hong Kong campaign kicks off this weekend with cheap movie tickets and food fares. The city's unemployment rate improves for the 11th consecutive month. After an aggressive drive to win back overseas tourists, the government has turned its attention to locals. Bargain movie tickets, food fares, and a harbourfront carnival will be among the festivities in the upcoming Happy Hong Kong campaign, Janice Low reports.
After much fanfare, the government has finally unveiled the details of the Happy Hong Kong campaign aimed at lifting the city's spirits and the economy. Headlining the festivities will be Cinema Day this Saturday, when people can catch a movie for just $30. Tickets will go on sale at box offices and online at 11 a.m. this Thursday. The initiative will be subsidized by the Film Development Fund. Next up will be a series of food fairs. The first one also kicks off this weekend at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai, followed by similar exhibitions in Sha Tin next month and the Kwun Tong Promenade in June. Admission is free, but there will be a cap of 100,000 participants at the Wan Chai Fair because it is held indoors. Ocean Park will also grant free entry to 5,000 visitors every Saturday night in June. They will be treated to light and entertainment shows. But the showpiece event of the campaign will no doubt be the Sea and Land Carnival held in July and August. On weekend evenings, the Harbour Chill Carnival along the promenade in Wan Chai and Causeway Bay will feature overseas performers and music shows. Sports fans are also not forgotten, as Manchester United's youth squad will visit the city in August for 2 friendly matches. Financial Chief Paul Chan said the campaign will set the government back by around $20 million. He said it's hard to gauge if the money is well spent.
I think it is pretty difficult to have a very well-defined numeric criteria to be established. Because at the end of the day, whether people are happy or not, it is indeed very emotional and kind of personal experiences.
He insisted the goal is to instill positive sentiment among people after the tough times in the past few years. Janice Low, HKIBC.
Security Chief Chris Tang has accused the applicant of the Labor Day rally of making irresponsible remarks regarding public safety. Speaking to the press before a duty visit to Beijing, Tang rebuked claims by former unionist Joe Wong that police are exaggerating the march's safety risks. He also warned that organizers of public processions are responsible for ensuring peace and order. But Tang stopped short of saying whether Wong's application will be rejected. Wong revealed that he has held a meeting with police and was asked to clarify questions such as crowd control measures. The city's top officials and lawmakers have wrapped up their 4-day trip of the Greater Bay Area. Chief Executive John Lee had nothing but praise, saying it was now the time for Hong Kong to catch up on the lost progress. On the last day of the 4-day excursion to the Greater Bay Area, Chief Executive John Lee sat down with Guangzhou Mayor Guo Yonghang for a cup of tea and dim sums. He was later joined by Hong Kong lawmakers and officials to inspect a sewage treatment plant which occupies an area of 29 hectares. Lawmaker Elizabeth Quat was impressed, saying she could not detect any foul smell at the underground facility. It is also home to a park with lush greenery and a fish pond on the ground, with the water coming from the filtration facility. Quat urged Hong Kong authorities to mimic the model when building water treatment plants in the future. Fellow lawmaker Priscilla Leung believes sewage plants will be a necessity in future developments such as the Northern Metropolis. The delegation finally met with Guangdong Party Secretary Huang Kunming and other municipal leaders before returning to Hong Kong via high-speed train. Speaking to the press at West Kowloon Station, Lee hoped there will be more such trips in the future. He said filibustering and chaos in the past have brought Hong Kong to a standstill, and it was now time to catch up on the lost progress. Students from a secondary school in Pok Fu Lam are counting down their days in the campus. Under a merger proposal, students from Wu Cheng Cheng Secondary School will be transferred to Charles Bath College in Tung Chung in the upcoming academic year. Some of them admitted they were shocked by the news. The school's sponsoring body, Caritas, said school buses will be arranged for the students. Principal Ao Hoi Kin refuted claims that the merger was the result of the school's failure to enroll enough students. He said those who don't want to travel that far will be placed in other schools. Overseas, Australia has unveiled its biggest defense overhaul since the Second World War.
The defence posture that we have had for the last few decades has served our nation well. But in the circumstances that we now face, that defence posture is no longer fit for purpose. And so today, for the first time in 35 years, we are recasting the mission of the Australian Defence Force. Firstly, to defend our nation and our immediate region. Secondly, to deter through denial any adversary that seeks to project power against Australia or our interests through our northern approaches.
The Government Commission review suggested Canberra needs to spend more to counter the growing influence of China. The review also approved of a deal to acquire nuclear-powered submarines from the United States and Britain. The project could set Australia back by $368 billion. Dozens of people in Kenya were found starved to death after a cult leader told them to fast in order to meet Jesus. The pastor has been arrested, but the death toll could rise as efforts to exhume bodies from his property continue. Sachin Katvi reports.
Acting on a tip-off, police officers last week raided the property of a Christian pastor in the coastal town of Malindi, roughly 560 kilometers east of the capital, Nairobi. Paul Mackenzie Wenge, head of the Good News International Church, allegedly asked followers to starve themselves to death so they could meet Jesus. Of 15 people rescued from his property, 4 died on their way to the hospital. But authorities believed there could be more victims, and their fears were confirmed after days of digging. Another 26 bodies were exhumed from shallow graves around the pastor's farm, bringing the death toll to 47 at last count. A 325-hectare area of forest near the town has been sealed off for investigation. Wenge has faced charges earlier relating to the death of his followers. He was since released on bail.
We can't have people who just wake up one day in the name of a calling to, drive people on a suicide path. Every church, every mosque, every temple and synagogue must belong to a registered, structured framework.
This time, the police and local politicians are urging the court to deny another bail attempt by the cult leader. Wenge himself has been on hunger strike for the past 4 days while in police custody. Sachin Katwi, HKIBC.
Countries around the world are rushing to evacuate their citizens from war-torn Sudan, including European nations, the Gulf states, and China.
And I want to thank the combined efforts of many countries that took their nationals, but also all nationals that they could pick. So it has been a successful operation, but complex. I was in touch with the 2 generals fighting in Sudan. And now the ceasefire is stopped, it's over. We have to continue pushing for a political settlement. We cannot afford that Sudan, which is a very populated country, implodes, because it will be sending shockwaves around the whole Africa.
Military planes were seen evacuating foreign nationals and diplomats from capital Khartoum, including this flight operated by Italy. Another flight by the Spanish military took off with around 100 civilians on board, 30 Spaniards, and the rest other nationalities. Several buses crossing into neighboring Egypt were full of people fleeing the nation. As the fighting between rival army generals entered its 10th day, claiming over 420 lives so far. Hong Kong's labor market continues to improve. The unemployment rate stood at 3.1%, down 0.2 of a percentage point from February. This marked the 11th consecutive month of improvement, dating back to May last year when the jobless rate hovered above 5%. Around 3,200 additional people joined the labor force, while 3,900 found employment. But more than 110,000 people remain without a job. Hong Kong stocks retreated today as investors await the earnings reports from tech giants this week. The Hang Seng Index lost more than 300 points in early trading before the losses were curtailed later. It finished the day 0.6% lower. Short video sharing platform Kuaishou jumped 3% in anticipation of better than expected first quarter results. Electric car maker BYD was up 3.6% after Chief Executive John Lee expressed interest in bringing their elevated rail system to Hong Kong. Ali Health picked up 4.9% after reporting an increase in the sales of its products on the online retail platform Tmall. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 115 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $4.20, Tracker Fund was down 6 cents, and Alibaba was down $1. Meituan was down by 10 cents. SMIC was down by 25 cents. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, euro is at 8.6. The pound sterling is at 9.7, while the Australian dollar is at 5.24. In Europe, the London FTSE is down 4 points. On to the weather now. It will be mainly cloudy with a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 22 and 25 degrees. The gloomy weather will continue for the rest of the week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Maisy Mok. Thanks for watching. Good night.